Hello, good evening. We're learning Spermisis, story of the master of prayer. So let's take a quick look at the text and see what we can learn from that. All right. So the first thing that we said was there was a king and a queen, and they had a daughter. And on the recommendation of the master of prayer, um, the daughter of the king was married off to the warrior. They had a child with golden hair, a complete sage, even though he couldn't talk. This is what we read last week. So here we continue today. And with the king was an orator. That is a speaker who is an expert in eloquence, rhetoric, was able to speak and compose wonderful poems, songs, and praises to the king. Now, the orator was himself also a nice orator. But the king showed him a way how to go up, get the power of the wisdom of rhetoric. And thereby, he became very wonderful orator. The king also had a sage, and this sage was also a sage by himself. But the king showed him a way how to go up and get wisdom. Therefore, he became an amazingly great sage. And similarly, the warrior himself was mighty. But the king showed him a way how to go up and get strength. Thereby, he became a wondrously great warrior. Because there is a sword, it hangs in the air. And the sword has three powers. When the sword is lifted, all the opposing armies, officers flee. So inevitably, they fall, because when the officers flee, there's no one to lead the battle. So they suddenly fall. But despite this, the survivors might still be able to wage war. But the sword has two edges. They have two powers. By one edge, they all fall. At the other edge, you get a sickness called dar, namely that the flesh becomes meager and lifeless. As is known, this sickness Hashem will spare us. So only by making a movement with the sword, wherever it is, the enemies are stricken in the above way, i.e., in what each side does. And the king showed the warrior the way that there is to the sword. And for there he gained his great strength. And me too did the king show a way for my thing. From there I got what I need, which means the prayer. So let's go into this a little bit. So here the king had an orator, a wonderful speaker, very eloquent, poems, wonderful praises to a king. Meaning after the warrior has married the daughter of the king, the world is starting to, the conduct of the world is according to Gvuros. That's why an orator needs to come. Lametzchus and console after people fall to mechazik and strengthen a person. Now, the orator by himself was a wonderful orator, but the king showed him a way, how to get to become a much better, much greater orator. When there is already an orator, when a person already understands, when we understand that our lives are led in accordance to Midas Agvura, this is this world. That means that there is a natural tendency within each of us that brings us to become demoralized, to become weakened, to figure, I'm not good, never was good, never going to be good. Just give it all up. There's a great fear that can fall on a person, like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to me? I feel all alone. It is absolutely essential that the midah of the orator has to come in. Being that the default mode of this world is to criticize, whether me criticizing others, other criticizing me, others criticizing others, me criticizing myself. It is essential that the power of oratory, of saying the good stuff, and saying it in a convincing way, in a way that brings about tremendous chizuk. That's the way of the world. You have to have it. The minute that the world is already under the conduct of the gvuras, there has to be a meilus, there has to be the orator. Yourself. Console yourself. That's okay. Every single day, little by little, we add a little bit, we add a little more, we add a little bit, another Torah, another mitzvah, another tefillah, a word here, there. It's gewaldig. You don't know what it is that you're doing. You have no idea. The only thing that, the only choice that I have is to just compare myself to others, which is, it's fallacious. I mean, it's like, it's a fallacy. What have I got to do with someone else? If I'm looking at someone else and I see that he's working hard to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so I can learn from this, to get into it. But that's it. No more than that. The minute I get carried away with what someone else does, I come out with a short end of the stick every single time. Because I don't know what problems he has. I don't know what his shortcomings are. All I see is, what I think. What I see is wonderful. But there are two sides to every story. And from my own side of the story, I don't see the good stuff. Yeah, okay, I can see it a little bit here, there, but I don't know what it's worth. The bad stuff is huge, and the good stuff it's all right. The point, you need a meilus, you need an orator, you need this power of oration, blessing, and divrei chizuk, and poetry, and all this, and with it comes, the praise to Hashem Yisbarach, because it can't be that everybody in the world is wonderful, and it's only when it was time to create me Kodesh Baruch Hu Kaviyachol Chas v'Shalom was out to lunch. It can't be. It's nonsense. When I praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu, when I thank a Kodesh Baruch Hu, I am able to understand, like in a circumventional kind of way, that I must be something extremely wonderful. And there's something which is totally unbelievable with every single thing that I do, every single good thing that I do. And no matter how many times I fall and falter, I can get up again. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is so great, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu has created me for His glory, and because the Kodesh Baruch Hu could do anything. If Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted me to be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu, I would have been as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Baruch Hu can take me out of my limitations immediately, within a nanosecond. And He wants to do it. He wants to do it, and He still doesn't do it, which means that the way I am is exactly the best thing I can be because of the praise of Kodesh Baruch Hu. So praising Kodesh Baruch Hu, advocating for myself, for the greatness of Kodesh Baruch Hu, that can lift me up. And when there is this oration, comes the Chacham. This Chacham we're speaking about is not the Chacham and Bina. That's the king and the queen. We're talking about Netzach v'Hod. These are the two midos of Netzach and Hod, of victory and splendor. But because when one is zoichet to chizuk hanefesh, when we are able to strengthen ourselves, and you can feel it, when in the beginning, when you start saying all these things, so you're basically, mouthing, all kinds of words, but at a certain point in time, suddenly it clicks, and you realize, yeah, that's true. All these things that I'm saying that, like, quote unquote, are true in theory, they're actually true in reality. When you are using the proper oration to praise the Kadosh Baruch Hu and be mechazik yourself and be happy and praise yourself for what you are able to actually accomplish, despite all the difficulties, then you are going out of your constricted consciousness, moichin the katnas. Then comes the Yeshua, then comes the deliverance. Deliverance is the victory, for the heart to be open in the light of Chochmah. Suddenly, like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Wow, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. I'm in a good place. I'm living my life. There's Olam Haba. It's not just Olam Hazeh. And the main thing is Olam Haba. And I care about it. I think about it. I succeed more, succeed less, whatever it is, but I'm in it. Yeah. And the heart opens. And then comes the Yeshua. And the heart opens a lot of Chochmah. And we're able to perceive the splendor, the Hoid of HaKadosh Baruch in Gadlus. That's the tikkun of Netzach and Hod. Suddenly I realize, wow, I exist in the world of Hashem Baruch. Things are really good. I could probably work harder, whatever it is, but sometimes I need to understand that I can work harder, but not as hard as I think that I should be working. Sometimes we get to work, we get to learn, we get to do whatever it is that we want to do and we decide to do. And we really, really don't feel like doing it. So comes the question, what's the, to give in then? It's just, it's, absconding from, responsibility. On the other hand, I have my own limitations. There are certain things that I cannot do. If I push myself, not only will I not break through, but I can actually harm myself in many different ways. Either harm my health or harm myself morally, in the sense that I like my morale. It's like I try to do it, I try to push through, and I can't do it. So there is a certain kind of balance, that I need to do. On the one hand, not to give in to to the feeling of my laziness, for lack of a gentle term. But on the other hand, to understand that, there may be a limit to what it is that I can do. So usually the answer is push a little bit. When you see that it's getting worse, so stop. And then maybe try again. You start learning, and suddenly you realize that, you don't even know what it is that you read. Not, I'm davening and my mind is, I don't know where it is. So you start again. Sometimes you have to stop. Stop a little bit, go away, come back, renew. It takes, there's tactics to dealing with that, and realizing that on one hand, we have a tendency, to slack off. On the other hand, we have to be careful not to push ourselves more than we can. So just keep an ear to the ground, as it were. Figure out where we are. As they said, that the Chacham was so smart. The Melitz was so great, but the Kodesh Baruch Hu showed him how he became an unbelievable orator. And the Chacham was also an amazing Chacham. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, the king, showed him a way he becomes a greater Chacham. Now the warrior was also a great warrior. He spoke about the great sword it has with 3 powers. When you lift it up, all the officers run away. Mimela, they lose the battle. And when the rest try to come to the war, the war has 2 edges. It has 2 powers. One edge makes them all fall. The other one, they all become, this illness is called dar, that their flesh, becomes whatever it is. That sword we're talking here is the koyach habina that is ensconced in the malchus. The koyach of this sword, the malchus, actually cuts off and separates the holy sparks from the klippos and elevates it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Cherev Lashem. Rabbeinu says the Cherev Hashem, the Cherev Mashiach, the sword of Mashiach, is the tefillah. The 2 edges of the sword is Diburi Tefillah. One sword is the praise of Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the other sword is whatever it is that you need. So these are the things that that can cut off, the people that start a person. But there's also the tip of the sword. The tip of the sword is not the praise of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and it's not you asking for whatever it is you need from Kodesh Baruch Hu. The head of the sword is that which you scream to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu, please save me. From that scream, from that shouting, the officers the leaders, the commanders, which is the seichel, the machshava of the war against me, all the kashas, all the having the yips, the becoming demoralized. Hashem Mashiach, this is the thing that kashas and heresies, and maybe yes, and maybe this time Kodesh Baruch is not going to listen to me, maybe this time, and that when a person calls out to Kodesh Baruch Hu with all his might, that these fall. These are the commanders of the armies that are fighting against you and me. So once a person screams out, they fall. Okay, but even though the kashas fell down, there can still be an awakening of Titus, of vices, bad midas that are still fighting against me. That's why the sword has the two mouths, the two edges, which is thanking, praising, and requesting and begging. When a person uses this mouth to ask, and admit and request and beg, the Taivas and Midas will fall off. And the also the fierceness of the body becomes much weaker. The other mouth is the thanking that you thank Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that is according to what we call this illness called dar. It wipes away the tightness from the. It takes away the wipes away the residue. They can see and I can actually, make it up and raise up and basically what we have learned today was this Indian that we exist in a universe which is Gvura based. It colors everything. And it colors our entire reality. There's nothing you can do about it. That's the nature of the world. The first thing that we need to have is we need to have the orator. We need to speak to ourselves. We need to speak to Kodesh Baruch Hu. We need to figure out, to understand, to praise Hashem, and to advocate for ourselves. Be mechazek ourselves. Once we have that, the heart opens in Chochmah. When the heart opens in Chochmah, we get the sword of the warrior, which is tefillah, which is thanks, and we're able to, basically just call out and scream to Kodesh Baruch Hu, cry out to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Because, we all meet this, arrive at these junctions where we ask, and with this, we're being nice guys. We are like, we're not, if it's good for me, then give it to me. If it's not good for me, don't give it to me. All these kind of funny business that we're trying to, negotiate and whatever it is. This is a certain point that comes at no more Mr. Nice Guy. You have to cry out to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yeah, but I'm embarrassed to ask Kodesh Baruch Hu. Maybe it's not good for me. Maybe what I'm forcing Kodesh Baruch Hu to give it to me. Don't worry about it. You are not forcing Kodesh Baruch Hu to doing anything. When you cry out to Kodesh Baruch Hu, you're simply crying out to Hashem. That's it. No more. Kodesh Baruch Hu is not afraid of you. You're not forcing his hand. You're crying out. When you cry out, you chop off the officers of the armies that are fighting against you, and then you're open to ask, to serve, to thank, to Mishalech Kodesh Baruch Hu, and you're able to deal with the bad midas and everything that goes along with that. These three things extremely important. First thing, the orator, the melitz. Find the good stuff about yourself. Understand it. What the way that you see yourself and the world, that's not the truth. Baruch Hashem, you're very special. And you're dealing with the reality that basically you're fighting blind with 1.5 hands tied behind your back. Because you don't know what it is that you need to do, what it is you're supposed to do, what it is that you're supposed to accomplish, what you're not supposed to accomplish, what the nature of the test is. We have no idea. It's only through Melitza, through Bimamlitz Toiv, understand, and about on you, and praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing. You could have been, I don't know, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure that you are just exactly who you are. And after the Melitz comes the Chochmah, and the Chochmah comes the Sor of the Gibor. Without Hashem, we will stop here. And Wednesday, Bli Neder, we're going to learn Likutei Moharan. I wish you all a fantastic week. And thank you so very much for being here.